Good morning TikTok, good morning everybody. Okay, good, we should be live, fantastic. Just do this one thing. Testing. That's no good. There we go. Fantastic. Should now have audio. Sorry, I was having some audio problems. I've got a new DJI Mic 3, which is a little more fiddly than the DJI Mic 2, unfortunately. I actually prefer my DJI Mic 2. But anyway, here we go. Right, so what day is it? It is Tuesday, the 7th of October. My name is Kyle. I'm going to be covering the daily AI news and updates, and boy, we have a lot of them today. So yesterday was the OpenAI Dev Day. They've announced a lot of new features. I've been playing around with them last night and this morning as well. So I'm going to be running through what the most important ones are for you. It was a developer-focused conference, but I still think there's a lot of very important updates for everyone, for the rest of us who are not necessarily developers. Before I get into that, though, I wanted to cover a couple of small, well, I say small, but not really that small, news items, also to do with OpenAI. And then I'm going to talk about the dev conference itself. And I'd love to hear what you thought as well if you watched it live yesterday. It was 6 p.m. London time, and it was a good show overall. So the first thing is, again, OpenAI. It's all OpenAI news today. We're going to start with Sora. So Sora has been everything for the last week, and if you look at my comment sections on any of my videos, it's just people saying, give me a Sora code. I need a Sora code now. I'm sure there'll be somebody in chat, if there isn't already, asking for a Sora code. There will be in a few seconds from now. Sora have started to rein back the amount of creative power that you have within the model. So we see this again and again and again with image and video models, where they'll release basically an unfettered version of the model initially in order to cause a big splash and to make everyone say, wow, this is really good. So it will be unthrottled. You'll be allowed to create a huge number of generations. It will generally be quite fast, and there will be less creative restrictions. So people were creating content using IP protected characters. You could get stuff from Disney, you could get Sonic the Hedgehog, you could get Mario, whatever. You could throw them all into a video. And that only lasted a couple of days before they reined that back in, and now you'll be told, no, that is a content violation. You're not allowed to generate that video. So this is very normal with AI companies. They'll generally do this. They'll let you go nuts for the first few days, which gets some good press, gets them a lot of virality online, and then they'll be like, actually no, and then they take away your toys. What we're seeing here, though, which is a little bit different, is that OpenAI are going to work on allowing licensed characters or licensed faces into Sora via the Cameo feature, which allows you to put yourself or a specific IP, in this case, intellectual property in this case, into Sora. But they're going to be doing official licensing. So it's a bit like, this could be closer to something like Fortnite, where you can buy skins of K-pop Demon Hunter or Nicki Minaj. I think that might be Fortnite, not Fortnite, Call of Duty, but having officially licensed characters within your ecosystem. So fictional characters are officially coming to Sora as OpenAI manages copyright chaos. Collabs with fictional characters are on the horizon for Sora, officially that is, as OpenAI moves to restrict the flow of unauthorized horrors like meth cooking and Nazi SpongeBobs and criminal Pokemon that have plagued the platform from day one. I saw a very upsetting video of Sam Altman barbecuing and eating a Pikachu. Not going to have any more of that. Bill Peebles, leader of the Sora team at OpenAI, said fictional characters' appearances in videos, known as cameos, are on the roadmap, with details hopefully dropping soon, teasing a sanctioned way, boring, to use copyrighted characters on the platform. Now, this is a little inaccurate from The Verge, because Cameos is not only for fictional characters. Cameos also allows you to scan your own face and to record your own voice and to put yourself into videos and to use your friends with permission in those videos. So it's not just fictional. So that's not quite right. It comes as CEO Sam Altman pivoted over the weekend from the company's opt-out copyright policy it had been using for generating videos, and instead they're moving to opt-in. So they opened up, as I say, wide, allowing people to basically go nuts, because that really helps with the virality, and it worked. Sora was all people were talking about last week, and then you rein that back and you move it to opt-in. You move it to opt-in rather than opt-out. Altman has promised rights holders, like Disney, for example, who he says are very excited for this new kind of interactive fan fiction, weird phrasing, more granular control. He says it will be similar to the opt-out models for using your likeness, but with extra controls. Altman has also said some form of revenue sharing with rights holders whose characters are used will start very soon, though he warned the exact payment method will likely take some trial and error to figure out. So this will allow you IP, like Disney, for example, might get involved in this, allowing their characters to be placed into Sora in exchange for some kind of payment. Disney, probably the worst example. I imagine they'll retain their IP. They're very, very strict on those things. But I can imagine video game characters and other IP that are less strict potentially becoming part of this revenue sharing model, in the same way that when Snoop Dogg or or Goku appear in Fortnite, there will be a portion of that cash which goes to the original character. Snoop Dogg is not a character, but you know what I mean. So I'm surprised that they are talking about this so soon in Sora's lifetime. I think that in this case, maybe they weren't expecting Sora to be quite as popular, and for people to be creating quite as much problematic content that could get OpenAI into legal hot waters. So I think this is a quickly rushed out statement to say, oh yeah, we're going to rein this back and we're going to work out a way to do this properly. It's one of those good problems to have, I would say. If nobody cared, if this wasn't popular enough, then this would not be an issue. So with Veo 3, for example, and other models, they haven't been popular enough, despite being very good, to cause this kind of reaction from rights holders and from OpenAI as a response. So I think that's what we're seeing. It's because finally AI video is good enough and popular enough and soon to be released to, we've just heard, 800 million users who are now in the ChatGPT ecosystem. Now it's become a large enough problem that this needs to be resolved. So an interesting move, just one of the very many things that are happening at OpenAI right now. So I wanted to cover that. I'm gonna hop over to some questions, see if there are any. Hey, good morning, Tomas. Morning. Oh, nobody's asking me for Sora codes. That is surprising, very surprising. Normally anytime I talk about Sora, oh, there we go. Checkmate. I've got a couple of videos about how to get Sora codes. So if you check them on TikTok, there are some guides about how you can get a Sora code. It depends where you are. If you're inside the US, there's a workaround and you do not need a code. If you're outside the US, you need a VPN and you still need a code. But there's a couple of videos, so have a look around for those. Sora code, please, Tomas. Do you have it yet, Tomas? I should ask. I'll message you because there are ways to get it. And again, those videos as well. Have a look at them. Does it work in the Maldives with VPN? Yes. Yeah, it should do. So you're going to VPN, then use the browser version, but you will still need a invite code. So go and check the videos. There are kind of 3 main sources where you can get those codes from, and I've covered them in other videos. I'm not going to go into them right now because I've talked about this stuff for days. Right, next up. So, obviously the big news yesterday was the Dev Day. We're going to talk about that in a moment because there's a lot coming out of OpenAI Dev Day. However, something probably more important actually happened with OpenAI yesterday, but it's less exciting. Well, unless you're an investor. So, OpenAI have just signed a deal with AMD. AMD are a chip maker, like NVIDIA. So Advanced Micro Devices, AMD, has landed a deal with OpenAI to build artificial intelligence infrastructure, giving the chip maker a chance to challenge NVIDIA in the AI computing industry. Right now, there's basically one game in town, and it's Nvidia. And if you have owned Nvidia stock in the last year, you would have been very happy to own Nvidia stock, let's put it that way. Now AMD have entered the game. So AMD make really good processors. If you're building a gaming PC or you need a high power PC, AMD are the go-to. It's no longer Intel, it's AMD. And they have just signed a deal with OpenAI, and I think their stock, let's have a look at their stock yesterday. Again, this is not financial advice, but yesterday it jumped, can't tell what that is. I think it jumped about 30% in a day. So if you had invested $1,000, you would have $1,300 today, for example. Obviously it's settled down a bit, but I think this is going to be the beginning of a very bright future for AMD. So OpenAI will deploy AMD graphics processing units, GPUs, over multiple years, and the deal sets the stage for OpenAI to acquire a large stake in the chip maker. The agreement represents a high-stakes test for AMD with potential risks and rewards they're going to have to deliver, including tens of billions of dollars in new revenue and a chance to burnish its status as a serious contender in AI technology. So their shares rose 24% in a day after the agreement was announced, adding blah, blah, blah. Oh, they added $63 billion to the company's market valuation in one day. Now more than Coca-Cola, General Electric, or Chevron. So OpenAI will deploy 6 gigawatts worth of AMD graphic processing units over multiple years, according to the pact, which is just over half the size of an agreement the AI startup recently reached with Nvidia. So just over half the size. So they have an agreement with Nvidia for, I guess, 12 gigawatts. I don't remember the details of that one, but this is going to be for 6 gigawatts. And it also sets the stage for OpenAI to acquire a large stake in the chip maker. So in the last 2 weeks, what OpenAI have done, very smartly, without spending any money, they have reduced their reliance on Microsoft and Nvidia. So previously, their supply chain, where they're buying from, was basically Microsoft for all of their cloud computing, but they penned a deal with Oracle and briefly made Larry Ellison the richest man on earth. They increased, I think it was one Wednesday, his net value increased by, I forget the number, it was like 200 billion or something obscene in one day. So OpenAI are now working with Microsoft and Oracle for their cloud infrastructure, so they have decreased their reliance on cloud and their servers. And on the other side, instead of relying entirely on Nvidia, they've now opened up the ability to cooperate with AMD. So they've reduced their reliance on both sides, and they've done both of these deals on future revenue. They have not spent anything, they haven't paid anything. This is all about linking Oracle and linking AMD to the future of OpenAI, and basically saying, we're growing, we're going to have a lot of money to spend, and we're going to spend it with you. And in the case of AMD, we're going to spend it with you, but we're going to take a percentage of your company. So Sam Altman has penned these deals and basically rewritten the tech industry without spending any cash. And everyone is inextricably now tied into OpenAI, which is a little bit of a worry. So there are also risks. It further ties AMD's prosperity to an AI market that some worry is a bubble. Jeff Bezos was talking about this yesterday, and I 100% agree, and basically was saying what I've been saying for the last couple of months, is that it could be, or very well might be, a financial bubble. That does not mean it's a technological bubble. So in the same way that the internet, we had a bubble and a crash, the dot-com boom and bust, we still have the internet. So a lot of stupid money was spent on stupid investments, and we're seeing that as well now with artificial intelligence, with money just being thrown at anything that has AI or agent in the title. But not all of those investments are going to be solid investments. However, the underlying technology, generative AI, or back in the 1990s, early 2000s, the internet, is sound. Just because you have a financial bubble does not mean you have a technological bubble. Those are two separate things. And I think we have one and not the other. Again, not investment advice. So I think this news that came out yesterday of this deal, this huge deal with AMD, is probably more important than the Dev Day that OpenAI had. But this is less public, less visible. This is a much longer scale kind of news. And it kind of got buried under the Dev Day announcement. So I wanted to highlight it because it's going to be incredibly important. Basically, OpenAI are becoming the linchpin of not just the tech markets, but the entire American economy. So there's a lot of weight being put on this one linchpin right now. Let's hope that they can deliver. Otherwise, it's going to be extremely messy. Okay, let's hop over to Dev Day. But first, I'm going to answer some questions, and then we'll talk about Dev Day. Please, I need a Sora invite code. Check, for anyone who's asking for Sora invite codes, check the other videos I've done. I've gone through about 3 or 4 different methods to get a code. What are your thoughts on the cost funnel of AI? Use it to AI companies to compute companies. So right now, the actual revenue coming from users, so from subscriptions, from consumer users, and API usage from business users, developers, enterprise, is very small compared to what is actually needed and the valuations. So the revenue at the moment does not justify the valuations. However, it's a nascent market, generative AI, not AI, but generative AI. And many startups like Amazon do not make a profit for a very long time. I think Amazon made no profit for 12 years, I want to say. The big question is whether all of this investment will actually pay off, and whether we can ever create the amount of economic value that is justified by the spend that is happening right now. That is a very big open question. But right now, the cash flowing from users to AI companies to compute companies does not work. It requires outside VC investment. There is not enough subscription revenue or API revenue to keep this whole thing up. It is not a self-sustaining business. It is not profitable yet. Will it be? That is the big question. And if you get that question right, you make a lot of money with investment. Right. Yeah, I read that too. Peter Thiel says 10 years. Yeah. We'll see. 10 years is a long time to prop it up for without returns. However, I mean, the closest analogy we have is the internet. In recent history. Generative AI is a general purpose technology in the same way that semiconductors were, microprocessors, computers, the internet. The technology itself is not necessarily the business, it's what we can build on top of that. So it goes way back, like even the steam engine is a general purpose technology. You don't necessarily make a lot of money making steam engines, but you can then set up, railways, and then people can make money from railways. You can set up factories, mills, for example, run on steam engines, and you can make money from them. So it's what businesses we can build on the application layer above the base technology. That is the big question. So something like Lovable, I happen to have their stuff in front of me, some merch. So Lovable lives on the application level. It doesn't live on that base level. So that is a business built upon the foundation level models that OpenAI and the rest are building. This is where we create value, and where we create businesses, and what we can do with that, we still don't know. In the same way that in the early 1990s, the late 1990s, when we had the boom and the bust with the internet, we were still working out what we could build with the internet. E-commerce was new. I don't think we had social media until, I know Facebook wasn't the first, but it's one of the first big ones. Facebook was founded in 2004, so after the crash. So we had not worked out what we could do, what technologies and what businesses we could build on top of the internet. So that's the big question. That's where the big economic value will come from. PhD Network says, are you attending the AI for the Rest of Us conference, Kyle Obama? Yes, I'm speaking at it. I'm speaking at it the second day. Let me pull this up. I meant to be promoting this. So thank you for the reminder, PhD Networks. So 15th and 16th of October. Next week. Coming up, yeah, next week. I'm going to be speaking at the AI for the Rest of Us conference. I'm going to be speaking on the Thursday at, I believe, 11:30. I'm going to be talking about AI training, giving AI workshops, and how it's a really good business model for you right now, whether you are doing it outside as a freelancer, as your own business, or you could give AI workshops within your organization in order to secure your job. It's a really good way to do so right now. So I am going to be attending. I'll be there on the Wednesday as well, I believe, but I will be talking on the Thursday. Yes, I will see you there, PhD Networks. That'd be exciting. Yeah, first speaker on Thursday. So looking forward to seeing you there. And for everyone else, it's in London, it's in person. The tickets are £360. I think I have a discount code. I'll post it below the video over on YouTube after this live. So I'll put the discount code there to get a little bit off, and it's £360. It's going to be 2 days, and it should be a lot of fun. A lot of really good speakers. Really good speakers. Right, let's hop over to Dev Day. There is a lot to cover here. So I'm pulling up this recap from Nick Dobos, who was there, great guy and very knowledgeable in the space. He gives a quick recap, and then I'm going to jump into the actual details. There's probably two big announcements that we need to pay attention to. So the first one is ChatGPT apps. This is what they started with. Basically, the ability to add apps into ChatGPT and for ChatGPT to work directly with those apps. So they've already released a few. Figma, Booking.com, Canva, Zillow, they showed off in the demonstration. Basically, it allows you to use ChatGPT as an interface to work with these companies, to work with these tools. They did a really, really cool demonstration where they pulled some information from Zillow. They chatted to the site, they chatted to the Zillow database, basically pulled in that information and then used that to generate a presentation in Canva using the Canva app. So they were able to synchronize between all of these different applications. Very, very cool. What this means is the ability to basically launch an app store. This is the big takeaway here. So back in 2008, I think it was, Steve Jobs launched the App Store. That did not exist until 2008, and that created a wave of new business, innovation, millionaires, billionaires. People like the guy who built Instagram would not have been able to exist without the App Store. Built that, sold it for $1 billion to Facebook. $1 billion now seems like a small amount of money, bizarrely. So we are getting a similar version. So we had previously the custom GPTs, and we still do, and the GPT store, which was a bit of a bust. No one really uses it. This could be a second go at it, and allowing you to build an app that kind of lives off platform, but it connects into ChatGPT. So the software development kit is now available, so you can now start to build applications, and then they have to be approved in order to be connected into ChatGPT. So this is a huge opportunity. If you have an application that you want to get in front of the 800 million users of ChatGPT, if you can build something valuable and then get it published on the store, get the visibility from the new App Store that they're going to be launching, and then that gives you access to 800 million people, there's a lot of money to be made there. You just need to use your imagination and work out what that looks like. So a store and directory with approval and review, like the Apple App Store, is coming soon, and then hints at monetization. So they talked about it, but they didn't address that. Will we see the 30% model that we see with the App Store? Maybe. This would work really well with the introduction of shopping, which they are also working on, and other monetization features within ChatGPT. So that's apps. Let's actually hop over to let's hop over to the Wired coverage. So, starting today, some developers will be able to use a preview version of the new Apps Software Development Kit, SDK, to build apps within ChatGPT using open standards. The ability to distribute these apps is currently limited to a handful of big partners, and they pulled up the list on stage. It was, here we go, Booking.com, Canva, Coursera, Expedia, Figma, Spotify, Zillow. I think there were a few more. but you're able to now talk to those services. Oh, there are some more. No, apps coming soon. AllTrails, DoorDash, Khan Academy. That's cool. I know Salman Khan was, if you read his book, Brave New Words, he has quite a close relationship with Greg Brockman and Sam Altman, and he was called in to experiment first with ChatGPT 4 back when that was coming out, and he realized like how powerful this would be as a tutor. So it's good to see that Salman Khan is still close to them. Instacart, very cool. Peloton, don't know why, but sure, why not? OpenTable, Target, The Fork, TripAdvisor, Thumbtack, and Uber. So a lot of these are shopping related, and others are education related, and then there's Peloton. Sure, why not? So this will be, I think, really powerful if you can build an application that you want to get distribution via their network. In terms of seeing them, apps will be available today to all logged in ChatGPT users outside of the EU, of course, on free, Go, Plus and Pro plans. I'm not sure whether it's in. I did not see it today. I'm not sure whether it is in. We have it in the UK yet. I'm not seeing it. So I think it's not in the UK either, because the UK tends to follow the EU's standards for AI, which is why we don't have Sora. More pilot partners will launch later this year, and we expect to bring apps to the EU users soon. So that means they're going to be onboarding more and more apps over time. So if you want to build something, start building it now, and by the time they're ready for the wider launch, hopefully you will be in a good place. So developers can start building and testing apps today, yesterday, using the new Apps SDK preview, which we're releasing as an open standard built on the MCP Model Context Protocol. To start building, visit our documentation for guidelines and example apps, and then test your apps using developer mode in ChatGPT. Later this year, okay, this is timelines, we'll begin accepting app submissions for review and publication, and we'll share more details on how developers can monetize their apps. So very cool. Hopefully more exciting than the custom GPT store, which was a dud. I don't think anyone would argue with that. So we'll see how that goes for them. It seems exciting though, and a big opportunity if you are a builder. Okay, the next thing, coming back to Nick Dobos, actually answer some questions. Helen, how do we attend that online? Is that AI for the rest of us? I don't think there's an online version. I'll have to ask Hannah, who is the organizer. I don't think there's an online version, in part because it's split over many sessions. There are 3 different sessions going on at every time, and I don't think they have set up for the online version, I'm afraid. But I will WhatsApp Hannah after this, and then I'll be able to talk about that tomorrow. But I do not believe there's online, sorry. Hannah, if you're watching this, do say. Okay, awesome. Let's hop over to the second big piece of news, which is agents, which we got teased yesterday. So, AgentKit, node-based agent editor for devs, with nodes like MCPs and connectors, logic like if, else, and custom widgets. Also has a pre-built widget library. Okay, that's a lot of jargon, and you might not have any idea what that means, but let's have a look at it. So this is what the kit looks like. If you're on TikTok, you'll be able to see my screen over on YouTube. It's going to be the best place to see it. Otherwise, you can actually get in and test this out yourself. If you go to platform.openai.com, that's where you can access all of their kind of back-end dev tools. It's free to mess around with. You'd only pay if you want to actually deploy, and then you pay per usage, but you can mess around a bit. So what it is basically a drag and drop interface where I can pull in agents, I can set endpoints, outputs basically, file search, so I can add vector storage for, I guess, for RAG, guardrails I can build directly in, MCP connectors, if else. If you've used N8N or make.com or Zapier, then all of this will be very familiar to you. I don't know where this sits. because obviously this is a big problem for tools at N8N. So interestingly, both N8N and oh gosh, what are they called? Lindy have put out statements immediately, because if you've been watching social media, immediately everyone was like, oh, RIP N8N, you're dead, RIP Zapier, etc. N8N put out a little post yesterday saying roadmaps adapt, principles stay. Flexible, open, community first, easy to start, ready for complexity. More people building agents is a win for everyone. We're here for the long term. Salute. So they have acknowledged this might be a huge threat. It basically looks like N8N once you are inside of it. And Lindy did something really clever, which they posted this this image which says, "Welcome OpenAI, seriously." Now that is a reference to Apple teasing IBM. So back in the 80s, Apple put out this image I've got on screen. "Welcome IBM, seriously. Welcome to the most exciting and important marketplace since the computer revolution began 35 years ago." So Apple were first to market with personal computers, PCs, like ones that you could have at home. And so when IBM entered the market, and IBM were a behemoth, Apple teased them, and Lindy have used exactly the same thing. "Welcome OpenAI, seriously," with this latest announcement. So welcome to the most exciting category in AI, and congratulations on your first foray into true AI employees. When we started Lindy, our thesis was that such AI employees were in sight. Virtual co-workers that can use the same tools as you, learn continuously, and collaborate with their teams of humans and AIs alike. We've worked towards this vision faster than we ever imagined. Our AI agents already automate millions of tasks for businesses large and small across use cases ranging from customer services to marketing, sales, and more. And yet we know we have taken but one small step on a very, very long road. We couldn't be more excited by what's to come and look forward to your help in this endeavor. See you out there, Lindy. So it's a bit tongue-in-cheek. I think both Lindy and N8N are rightfully probably a bit scared about this, because this is basically a knockoff. I won't say that. They all look very similar, so I don't think there's much protectable here. The big limitation, though, the huge limitation, is when we open up the agent, the models, the only models we can use are ChatGPT models. So if I want to use Claude, which I do because I love Claude, if I want to pull in Gemini, if I want to pull in Grok for whatever reason, I can't do that. I can use the whole range of OpenAI models within this OpenAI ecosystem. I understand why. This is a OpenAI based agent maker, so why would they open it up? But I think that reduces the flexibility of the tool an awful lot, because if you are building these kind of automations, these kind of workflows, these kind of agents, you need flexibility. You need to be able to flex to whatever the client is using in order to make it work. So reducing that flexibility and restricting you to within the OpenAI ecosystem might mean that this is going to be less successful than N8N and Lindy. That said, they have a huge dev base, developers who are already using OpenAI, they're already using platform.openai.com. And this is available, it's free, which is also a bonus. And it's relatively, well, it is easy to use. We'll see. I wouldn't be betting for N8N and Lindy right now, but I think they're safer than a lot of the kind of clickbaity headlines are saying. So if you see, N8N is dead, RIP, long live the king, OpenAI, Agent Kit, etc., it's not quite that simple because of this limitation in the models that can be used within this. There's also the kind of strange fact that this is easy to use, but it's not easy enough for anyone just to pick up. I do not know why they didn't start with a chat interface, which allows you to say, this is the kind of workflow I want to build. Because if it started with something that's a bit more like Lovable, and it allows you to type in and to give it a spec about what you want to build, or Cursor or any vibe coding tool, and then it puts the basic flow together for you, that would make it really easy for a total beginner to get started with this. Instead, it's not that. You need to drag and drop all the pieces in, you need to do the configurations, work it out yourself. So they haven't made it as easy as it could be. but it's also a little simplistic in that it is drag and drop. And if you are a proper developer working with these tools and actually building agents, this is going to be too simple. You want to have a lot more control, and you're not going to be messing around with a Zapier-like interface where you're dragging and dropping modules. So I don't know where this sits. It kind of falls in the middle, and I worry that it's not going to please either the complete beginners or the actual developers who are building these workflows on a day-to-day basis. So I don't really know who this is for. Obviously, this is the first iteration. Obviously, they're going to change it. This was also, I think this is the most impressive part, it was built in 6 weeks. So Stephen Heidel, who is API at, is he head of API? I don't really know. It just says API at OpenAI. He tweeted, "It's difficult to overstate how important Codex has been to our team's ability to ship new products. Codex is like their version of Claude Code. For example, the drag and drop agent builder we launched today was built end to end in under 6 weeks. Fast, really fast. Thanks to Codex writing 80% of the PRs." So 80%, I mean, we can debate if it's AI built or not, but 80% AI built in under 6 weeks. That's really impressive. And the fact that they are using their own tools to build their own tools is also very exciting as well. So I think it's good. I think it's definitely play around with it. It's free to play around with. Again, it's at platform.openai.com. You will need to log in, but then you can mess around with it, and you don't need to pay until you kind of launch it. Then you need to pay for API credits. That's absolutely fine. But the fact that they built it in 6 weeks using 80% AI code, that's really cool. That does also bring into questions like tools like n8n and Lindy, etc., and their moat, because if somebody can replicate this in a couple of months, what is that actual moat? Where does that come from? Does it come from user accessibility? Does it come from all the integrations that you have, etc., etc.? So I think this is the new world that we are entering into. And speaking of that, actually, so yesterday, I'll pull it up because it's quite interesting. Do I have it? There we go. So yesterday I wanted to buy or set up a certification, kind of a way to give certificates to my students and to my people who come through my programs. And I've looked at the various different ways to do that and realized like what most of these certification companies are selling is basically just a database of unique IDs and the ability to generate certificates, add to a database, and then make those certificates publicly available via the unique IDs. And then there are other standards like OpenBadge 3.0. You can also add blockchain, etc. You don't need blockchain. So I've realized that a lot of these companies that are charging a few $100s a month, what they're doing is just giving a database, publishing a certificate, allowing somebody to fill out that certificate. That's kind of it. So I built my own version. It took me about 3 or 4 hours. Vibe coded it in Lovable and have built out a whole certification backend, which allows for publishing LinkedIn certificates. So it allows you to create official LinkedIn certification that people can publish to LinkedIn. It allows you to create OpenBadge JSON files, which can then be uploaded to Badger and Credly and all the other open standard platforms. And you can create certifications, you can issue certificates, you can revoke certificates. I built it in about 3 hours. Instead of paying $150 a month to one of these other platforms who basically does the same thing. So this really is coming for a lot of SaaS companies, and we need to start questioning the value that SaaS companies offer when we can, with enough time and enough skill, put together our own versions. And even OpenAI basically put together their own version of n8n in 6 weeks using 80% AI code. I think this is a huge shift in where we are going, a huge shift that people have not fully acclimatized to. What is it you're selling here, please? I'm not selling anything. Oh, the mic has a strange background noise. It should be okay. So if you're having issues with the microphone, hop on to YouTube where it's a totally different microphone. Terribly sorry about that. The moat is memory and context, but I don't think enterprise will share that proprietary data. Yeah. So data becomes the new currency now. A lot of enterprises haven't sorted out their data, which is when you go to build workflows or automations or agents for them is primarily the work that you end up doing. It's not connecting these modules together. You can do that in N8N, you can do that in Zapier, you can do that in custom code. That bit's quite easy. The difficult task is working out what automations and agents they should be building. And in fact, do they need an agent? Generally not. And then aligning their data to make sure that these tools actually work. So whether or not you're using N8N or this new agent kit doesn't really matter. The hard work is elsewhere. Oh, the strange background noise on the YouTube from the mic. I don't know what's going on. You're all getting a weird noise. Okay, so I'm finishing up anyway. How is progress with the map? The app. I'm about to move over to the live stream. It's good. I'm running out of time though. I've only got 4 more days before I need to do a launch, which is a bit of an issue. I kind of want to do extra work on it in my own time, but I'm not allowed to do that. Oh, sorry, Helen's saying there's no strange background noise on the YouTube from the mic. So sorry, TikTok, I don't know why you're getting strange noises. Awesome. So those were the main topics. There were a lot of other announcements at Dev Day, but those are the big ones. I think is the App Store and the ability to create apps. And if you want to reach 800 million users, look into that now, so that by the end of the year, when they publicly open up the App Store to allow you to publish, it will be ready. And the Agent Kit, which is, again, it's kind of like N8N, but specific to the OpenAI ecosystem, which does limit it in a way. But the fact that they built it in 6 weeks using 80% AI code, kind of cool. And then there's some other bits and pieces. Sora 2 is available in the API. It's not cheap. Generating a single 10-second video is going to cost you about $1. So it's not cheap, but it's not massively expensive. There's also GPT-5 Pro, which is available in the API. Now that is expensive. I've forgotten the number exactly, but it is very expensive right now. Obviously, with all of these models, they get cheaper and cheaper over time. And then we have GPT Real-Time Mini, which is a new voice model, which is 70% cheaper. So yeah, lots of shifts and changes. If you're a developer, you're probably on top of these things already. But yeah, expect to see a lot more Sora videos now that the API has been opened up. So people will be able to produce Sora videos en masse without having to type them all in individually. Cool. I'm going to finish up this live. As always, you'll be able to find the recordings over on YouTube. Please make sure you're subscribed there. We're about to hit 7,000 followers, I think. It is slowly growing, but we're getting there. And make sure you're subscribed also to the free newsletter, where you'll get a written summary of what I've been covering in each of the lives, as well as links to additional resources, papers, direct links into the articles I use as well. I get rid of the paywalls for you. Bit naughty, and I'll be adding the discount code for AI for the Rest of Us, the conference as well. So check that in the newsletter as well. So yep, subscribe to YouTube, subscribe to the newsletter, and I will see you tomorrow for more AI news and updates. Thank you so much, everybody.